Good evening and welcome to special City Council meeting of May 5th, 2026. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members present and establishing a quorum are Council members Fulcher, Beaumont, Hanford, Walker, Gamble, and Fisher.
Thank you. Councilmember Blair indicated that they would be absent unless there are objections. Their absence will be considered excused. Okay, thank you, Council. Hearing no objections, their absence is excused. Councilmember Fulcher, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item of business is public comments. This is a limited opportunity for people to speak to the council during the council meeting. Pursuant to council rules of procedure, oral public comment is limited to in-person comment only and must comply with the standards set forth in the council rules. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Thank you. Information on where to send written comments is on tonight's agenda and on the screen. Clerk, were there any written comments received for tonight's meeting?
Yes, there was one comment that was forwarded to council.
Okay, thank you. Council, you'll have that comment. The first person signed up is Brittany Leeper. If you could state your name and area or residence or association with the city, then we'll start the timer. Thank you.
Leeper. My affiliation is my cousin and his wife were killed on Highway 2. And I actually live in Bothell, and I'm here representing my aunt and my godmother, Kathleen Cody. Good evening. My name's Brittany Leeper, and I'm here to read a statement on behalf of my aunt, Kathleen Cody. My name is Kathleen Cody. I am writing this on behalf of myself and Denver Cody, Dylan Craig's mother and stepfather, Catherine Williamson and Robbie Williamson, Mariana Craig's mother and brother, Tanner and Rachel Ferguson, their best friends, and the countless family and friends of the Craig family, and most of all, Corey, their 4.5-year-old son. On April 18th at 12:17 a.m., Dylan and Marianne were heading home to Gold Bar from a date night when they were struck and killed in a head-on crash near Sophie Road on Highway 2. They left behind the love of their lives, Corey, who was having a sleepover at my house. Corey must now grow up without his parents and to support and guide him through life. This horrible nightmare has forever changed all of our lives. Dylan and Marianne were just 33 years old and having their lives cut way too short breaks our hearts. They were very loving parents and were becoming very active in this community. The amount of love and support we received from family, friends, coworkers, and total strangers has shown us just how much they were loved and will be missed. I personally will never be able to drive on Highway 2 without a fear or a horrible sick feeling in my gut. I will never be able to drive that highway at night. Something needs to change to make Highway 2 safer. Had there been lights, a barrier between east and west traffic, or simply 2 lanes each way to allow for people so impatient they insist on passing, that perhaps could have prevented this horrible crash or others from happening. We will never know. No family should ever have to feel the pain our family and friends are feeling right now. We can only hope that you look very seriously at the improvements and changes that must happen to this highway. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany, for sharing your story. Next up, Leah Pizzetti. So if you could state your name and area of association, and we'll start the timer. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Leah Pizzetti. I am coming with Brittany as a concerned member of the community, and I did not think I was going to get emotional. I was there the night of that crash, and I saw firsthand the danger that Highway 2 can be. The images of Brittany's family and what happened that night, I will live with forever. I come to you all asking for support. I reached out to our amazing mayor and requested time with her. She and I sat down last week, and there has to be a path forward. I think every member of this community knows Highway 2 is dangerous, and I know it does not fall under your jurisdiction as city council, but I can't accept that as an answer for complacency. I am here to offer support in any way I can. We've already started reaching out to state and hopefully federal leaders as well to try to get attention to this issue. I know it is a problem that we don't have local control over this highway, but this is a highway that runs through this community, and it just seems like there has to be something to be done. Something that Patsy and I talked about was potentially unifying all of the local cities along Highway 2 to stand up together and go to our state leaders together and say we demand change. One concerned community member, one grieving family, one mayor may not be able to do it alone, but if we come together, come with a plan. I'm not a professional. I don't know how highways work other than driving them, so if it's seeking out professional input, cement barriers, traffic signals, just lights, it's so dark at night, just anything, feels like there is something that should be done. So this is step one. I know this is a long process. My own family is here. We have roots in this community, generational roots, and for the sake of future generations, I hope that there is solution that we can find so that we don't have to do this anymore. We don't have to grieve. We don't have to drive down Highway 2 and see cross after cross after cross. I know this is something we all can relate to, but I just ask for action. And I'm here to offer support in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Next up is Mike Williams. If you can state your name and area of association, and we'll start the timer. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Mike Williams. I own the building on 118 North Lewis Street in downtown historic Main Zone. I'm here requesting an interim zoning, changing fitness in the downtown commercial historic Main Zone to a permitted use so that I may operate a fitness facility in that location. I sent a letter to the city clerk on Monday to be shared with the council prior to this meeting with additional information supporting my interim zoning request. In the information I submitted for distribution to council, key findings from recent major studies reference the following. Unlike destination shopping, gym visits are often paired with secondary errands. Data from Brookings 2025 Small and Mid-Sized Communities report shows that downtown value is tied to diversity and quality of assets that encourage multiple stops per trip. A study by Randall Retail found that physical retailers located in the same shopping area as a fitness center see an average of 2.5% more monthly store visits compared to those without a gym. Data for Credit Intel indicates that gym members often stay on site after workouts to handle daily errands rather than leaving immediately. Recently in 2026, fitness facility users using the gym four times a month rose 39.1% in Q1 of 2026. This means hundreds of residents visiting the downtown core area 3 to 5 times a week, every week, increasing foot traffic, which supports neighboring businesses, cafes, and restaurants. Unlike traditional retail, fitness traffic spreads throughout the day, supporting nearby businesses during the morning, early morning and late evening hours when standard retail traffic might dip. And gyms also support the local economy and create jobs for local residents. As you are most likely aware, the location that I referenced was a fitness facility for over 15 years, dating back to 2008. We contacted the city in August of 2025 when seeking to purchase the facility, and we were told that it was a permitted use, and we're not advised that it required a conditional use permit. It came as a big shock to me when we were shared at our pre-application meeting that the conditional use permit would be required. I'm a small business owner and operator and secured an SBA loan to buy this building and to build out and operate a fitness facility there. The additional time frame added to this project to obtain the conditional use permit will put me beyond my loan date for use of those secured funds. This will create significant financial hardship for me and leave the building vacant. So again, I'm asking the council to please grant an interim zoning, changing fitness in the downtown commercial historic Main Zone to a permitted use so that I may operate a fitness facility in that location. For me, time is of the essence, and I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would wish to speak? Okay, seeing no one else wishing to speak, the public comments portion of the meeting is now closed. Thank you. Councilmember Hanford.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't usually make comments at this point, but I feel that given the subject, it's worth just mentioning that everyone sitting up here has personally been to Olympia to lobby on behalf of Highway 2. And most everyone up here has been in DC lobbying and speaking with our federal leaders there regarding this. So just know that we are with you. We're not giving up. We're just getting started. So thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Hanford. Does any other council member wish to speak right now? Just want to give you an opportunity. Councilmember Walker.
Thank you. Same as Councilmember Hanford. I'm very grateful to have the group that we have in a moment like this, because I know that everyone's committed to fighting. And hearing you guys speak, I think, was a great encouragement to say that we can do more, we can do better, to unite or have some kind of coalition with the other city leaders along the corridor. I think we can do better, and we will. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilmember Walker. Councilmember Fisher.
Reiterating what they had said. I brought up your family's accident, I think it was last week. I bring up every fatality on Highway 2 in this area when they happen for comment. And yeah, we will, or I can't speak for them, but it sounds like we're all in the same boat. Won't stop until there are improvements, until it becomes a priority for our state. So thanks for coming tonight.
Councilmember Beaumont.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to address your presentation. I know it took a lot of courage to come here and show that kind of emotion, and I'm so sorry about what you're going through. You coming forward, this is on record. This helps us. It's a real story about real pain and real loss. And when we go to talk to people about making improvements, it helps that you came forward. So I appreciate your courage. Wish I could give you a big hug. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate your words. The next item on the agenda is announcements and presentation. The first presentation is Snohomish County Prosecuting Attorney Jason Cummings. Chief Jolly, will you please introduce our speaker?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm proud to have with us tonight Jason Cummings, the prosecuting attorney for Snohomish County Prosecutor's Office. To give you a little context, many of you had expressed concern for quite some time about various things that have been presented in media, or charging standards or denials for charging going forward. And this goes back to even the COVID era that was very challenging for the court system as well as all of us, and continuing until today with staffing and various issues that Prosecutor Cummings will speak to here in a minute. Just to give you, this is complimentary to us and very much a resource to what we have with our community court. The community court addresses misdemeanors and is a good tool for law enforcement to be able to address the livability issues that concern us locally, and very active in doing community court and various things through there. In contrast, the Snohomish County Prosecutor's Office is responsible for dealing with the serious issues of the day, the serious crimes. And rather than try to attempt to summarize that, I brought the subject matter expert. He was kind enough to come here. Jason has been a lifelong resident of Snohomish County. He has served in the prosecutor's office about 25 years, I believe, before you started what is his first term as the boss over there, being the elected prosecutor for Snohomish County. He's a graduate of UW as well as law school at Seattle University, which happens to also be the alma mater of one of our honorable panel members up there at the dais, Mayor Cuddeback. So without further ado, Jason.
We went to law school together.
Good evening, Pat Mayor, members of the council. First, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. Monroe holds a special place in my heart. When I was a kid growing up, it was one of the coolest places to come as a wrestler from Evanside was to come to Monroe Bearcats, because Monroe is one of the few schools. There we go. One of the few schools in Wesco where they turned off the lights and dropped a spotlight over the middle. I remember that well, and it's also a place I remember well with my kids' youth. My daughter's first music concert was at the Evergreen State Fairgrounds, where she had the opportunity to go to one of her favorite country music stars at that time, and actually got to meet him backstage. So she thought that was pretty cool. But it's also a place that has fond memories and then somber memories. I have, well, as the chief can say, we see each other pretty regularly. With limited exceptions, I've been to almost every Bindle run. There's been a few years that I have not been able to make it, but it is something that we remember deeply, the loss of Corrections Officer Bindle and the service that she had in our community. But it is also great to be able to come back and see former classmates. The mayor and I actually graduated from law school together back in 1996. So it's been a few years, but it's
been a
always
minute.
It's been good to reconnect. The opportunity here this evening is to talk a little bit about the work that we do. And the work we do is hard, but it is work that is satisfying. There's been a lot of talk regarding the justice system and where we're at, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say everything's rosy and wonderful. It is the year 2026, and I am operating at 2008 staffing levels. In 2008, I had 200 FTEs for my office, that's staff and lawyers. In 2026, I have 202 FTEs, staff and lawyers, and that's for the criminal division, civil division, and family support divisions of my office. We are facing a crunch. The law and justice system was not built for a pandemic. There is a backlog that exists and continues to exist. As a result, we've had to adjust our charging and disposition standards, because one thing I will always do is prioritize the crimes against person. That means our homicides, our sex cases, our crimes of domestic violence, and our violent crimes, assaults, robberies. Those are always going to have a priority, which means that our nonviolent cases have different priority, where we don't have the resources necessarily to get to all of them. Even within our nonviolent caseload, I will still prioritize the unlawful possession of firearms, the eluding. Those are situations where somebody flees a marked law enforcement officer, and I believe those cases, eludes and UPFs, or unlawful possession of firearms, are very dangerous to be labeled nonviolent crimes. But we'll prioritize those. One of the things I want to say is I'm very impressed with the partnership that we have with the Monroe Police Department, Chief Jolly's agency. Just a week and a half, I guess 2 weeks ago, we had a verdict of a serious homicide that occurred here, where one of your residents was killed by a roommate. And it was the outstanding work of the detectives of the Monroe Police Department. It was a retrial, and we had a guilty verdict of murder in the second degree. And that will never bring that family member back, but it brings justice to a community that desperately needs it on serious cases such as that. In terms of some of where we're going and what the future looks like, and I do want to make sure I save time for any questions, because I'd much rather answer the direct questions you have than you always have to be careful about giving a lawyer a microphone. We can talk for a long time. Sometimes I fear we're paid by the word. But where we're going, I proudly wear my lapel pin from the Washington Association of Prosecuting Attorneys. On there are the scales of justice. Unfortunately, while the scales in my pin are somewhat balanced, we're seeing a change currently with the discrepancies. There are presently about 85 public defenders to my 60 DPAs. And that doesn't count the other 30% of the caseload that's handled by private counsel or conflict counsel. We have budget crisis that ever since 2008, I've had a budget cut. They call it targeted reductions or counsel offsets or goals for cuts. But at the end of the day, they're just cuts. So we continue to see those dollars. And there's lots of talk, and I know that the city experiences as well when you consider the revenues versus the costs and benefits. And in an office like mine, where it is nothing but salaries and benefits, I wish I had a big travel budget. I wish I had a giant training budget. But these are things that we just don't have. These are luxuries we cannot afford. So we fight every day for the personnel that we have to maintain the current levels of services that we have. But I am concerned as our council and executive debate the going forwards of the next biennial budget. We just got our budget plan out there, and it called for a 3% reduction. But that has lots of assumptions. It assumes tax increases to even have a 3% reduction. But one of the greater concerns I have is I just saw an email today where it pointed out that the public defense caseload standards, even if the Office of Public Defense was funded at the current level, they would say come January of 27, they would have insufficient resources and there would be 500 cases they would not assign counsel to. By context, I had 1,800 felonies filed last year. Imagine if almost a third of those felonies now are not going to have attorneys assigned, and what comes of those cases. So these are the things that trouble me and concern me. We're already seeing a little bit of this east of the mountains in Yakima County, where there have been lawsuits about the inability to have public defenders, and that's even without the caseload standards. They just don't have enough public defenders in that area. Or in Benton County in the Tri-Cities area, where they too have experienced the inability to assign counsel and having cases being dismissed until counsel can be appointed, and the horror stories of individuals who walk out of a jail only to commit another crime to be arrested again and be brought back in. Does it mean it all is not well? No. We have an incredible team who work hard every day to make sure that we are doing the best job we can do. Nobody got into the business of being a prosecutor with the idea of saying, how many fewer cases can we handle? It's about what we can do to provide our community the justice that it needs. And within that, it's justice not just for the victims, it's justice for the defendants to make sure their rights are upheld. It's justice for the community to make sure that we are appropriately and effectively enforcing the laws of our state and of our county. So with that, I want to make sure I have that opportunity to take your questions. In terms of some of the reference from Chief, yes, our charging dispositions standards have changed because of the inability to reach some of those nonviolent felony property crimes, and that is putting a burden directly on you. It's not a burden I want to give to you. It's not a burden I take lightly. But it's the recognition that if I can't get to some of those nonviolent property crimes, the thefts that would be at a felony level, we were asking that they be referred back to the municipal prosecution, the municipal courts to be handled, because I would much rather see some accountability be found than none at all. And that, unfortunately, does not make it any easier on your budget, but it is something that we've had to do. In terms of asks, if I had any of this evening, would be to make sure you reach out to the county council and reach out to the county executive to tell them the importance of maintaining public safety and the importance of properly funding the prosecutor, the sheriff, the courts. These are all necessary elements. I used for many years the three-legged stool analogy. Part of that was because I'm a land use geek. I grew up in the land use side of our office for many years and led that unit. But it has to have balance. And when you have imbalance by creating a caseload standard that then cuts the other budgets, you result in a stool that will not stay stable. And I'm fighting every day to make sure we keep that stool somewhat stable. So with that, I welcome any and all of your questions.
Council, any questions, comments? Councilmember Beaumont.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I appreciate you being here. So you answered a couple of questions. I was thinking, what can we do to support you as a council with the decisions that we make to lessen the burden or somehow make it a little ease the burden on you? And you answered a lot of that already, which I appreciate. I have a question for you just in terms of the growth of cases and sort of the public defender shortage, all of that. I'm wondering, is this that we've become a more litigious society? Is it just the laws that we're passing? I'm just curious what you're seeing and what you have to say about sort of that imbalance. You know, the public defender issue is a huge one for us.
Yes.
Thank you.
First, I don't know that it's necessarily a more litigious society. I do think there, you know, over the past 5 years, maybe 7 years, there's definitely been a swing of a belief that, you know, prosecutors, police officers, bad, you know, individual rights good. Let's, you know, and we're seeing a push there. I don't know if that's coming out of law schools. I don't know if it's coming out of just a general societal reflex. I do see, you know, we saw it in Olympia where many laws went one way, and now we're seeing that pendulum sort of swing back to a more common sense approach, particularly when it comes to law enforcement and policing. So it's not that we're seeing more trials. I think I would say the vast majority of all criminal cases and all civil cases, frankly, it's even greater in the civil cases, are resolved short of trial. It's not to say we don't have a lot of trials going out. This week we had 2 trials, felony trials go out. A couple weeks before we had 7, including a couple of the homicides, including the one that was from here. A week before that, I think we had 5. So we have plenty of trials going out. When you consider there are 17 Superior Court judges and 2 of them are permanently assigned out at rotation at our Denny Juvenile Justice Center, they actually had to bring 1 back downtown because of all the trials that we had going out. But that just happens to be sort of the ebb and flow of trials and when they're set. But I do know that the trials that are going out are the harder trials. They're the more complex trials. They're the more serious trials. My training DPA, who's one of our senior attorneys in the office, has back-to-back aggravated murder trials going out this summer. So she'll be in a 4-week trial, come out of that 4-week trial with about 3 days to get ready for the next 4-week trial that she's going out on serious homicides. There was an argument today over a continuance in a sexual assault case that you know, the attorney in my office is expecting and has got a conflict on time, and there is a balance of trying to say she has rights to protect, that she should be able to exercise, and the court saying, yes, but this defendant has a 6th Amendment right to a speedy trial, so you need to reassign this case, even though she has invested months getting ready for this trial. But these are the things that we have to navigate and work through. Is it more litigious? I would say that caseload standards giving the defense bar more time to handle their cases means there's more motions, meaning they're more heavily fought cases at times. But are there more cases going to trial? Not necessarily.
Councilmember Walker.
Thank you very much for coming out tonight. It is so great to hear you speak. One of the trends of society, I think, is I guess I'll start by saying I'm grateful that you're in the seat, because I think the easy response that a lot of people have these days is that our prosecutors and our judges, it's so frustrating, pull your hair out type stuff to hear about these cases that go, that they make an arrest and then they're back on the street the next day. And I'm saying that I thank you for being in the job that you're currently in, because it sounds like you are subject to the resource constraints, and you get to take the fall and be made as the person with the philosophical differences that you want those things to happen. And I'm sorry that you have to be the fall guy for some of those instances. That's really unfortunate. Thank you for working through it anyway, because I'm sure that there are nights that are very difficult to think, I'm doing my best, but someone has to keep doing it, so I appreciate it. I hope that there is more or something that we can do. I will try to convey what I can to council through public feedback. I will hope that there is some kind of McCleary-like decision on this, because I think that there are many bells and whistles that our state might prioritize before justice, which I think is probably one of the top tiers in everyone's mind on what is most important to us as human beings. It's just tragic to think of the things that we are foregoing as a society and as a government when it comes to justice. Because again, it's difficult for a prosecutor to get out and stump for budget all the time. So thank you for doing what you do. Appreciate the work, and I'll be hoping for a change, and I'll be trying for a change if there's anything that can be done.
Thank you very much. And I will point out in the McCleary type of response, there is a pending lawsuit from the counties against the state that I think would also be beneficial for the cities, in as much as when you look at the state of Washington, we are one of the worst states when it comes to state funding for public defense. When I bring these charges, they're brought in the name of the state of Washington. It is state of Washington versus John Doe. Other states throughout this nation spend substantially more covering the costs of public defense because they recognize that it is the state laws that create these needs. And we have been advocating in Olympia. I know the cities as well have been advocating because of the burdens that are being placed on local governments at a time when fiscal resources are constrained. The being the fall guy, it just comes with the job. It's what we do. You all get, I'm sure, just as many comments by folks who will unfortunately never be satisfied because we can't provide everybody the answers and the relief that they seek. But as long as we're doing our best and trying our hardest, that's what the citizens expect.
Anything else tonight, Council? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jason. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thank you all
Yeah.
very much.
In our law enforcement community, and regularly attends and supports the Snohomish County Chiefs and Sheriffs group, as well as a member of the the independent investigation team for shootings, the SMART team here in Snohomish County. So we appreciate his willingness to work with law enforcement before there becomes a major issue and keep us out of some of the deeper waters at times. It's much appreciated to work towards finding the pathway to doing the right thing rather than agenda-driven kind of items. So it's awesome working with you, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, and you can see a pattern here, I'm going to keep turning this over to subject matter experts. But I have with us the Snohomish County Department of Emergency Management personnel to talk about our comprehensive emergency management plan and our hazard mitigation plan. These are two things that have to be updated, I believe, every 5 years. And they are the subject matter experts, and we work in contract with them to provide us resources, partnerships, training opportunities, mentorship for people like me to be able to facilitate doing and having a robust emergency management program. If you're not aware, this is a duty that falls now within the police department, and we have a steady load of work to do, and with their assistance and guidance, I'm confident we're going to be able to do that. So I'm going to turn it over to Dara Salmon and David Fine to talk about the current status of the CEMP and HMP. Please be aware these are still in draft form, and I just picked up on something earlier tonight, so we'll continue to work on it, and if you guys want to.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us here. I'm going to turn it over to David. He's going to get started with the slideshow, and along the way I have some things to pitch in, but we welcome your questions at any point or anything emergency management related that we may be able to answer for you.
Hello, good evening. My name is David Fine. I'm the cross-sector program planning manager for Snohomish County Department of Emergency Management. Really, that means I do our two hats. One is the public-private partnerships between emergency management and private businesses, and the other is operational planning. So things like the comprehensive emergency management plan, I have a big push for an earthquake annex that we've been working on this year and well into next. And Dara Salmon's our deputy director.
I forgot that part.
Next slide, please. So this is just a brief taste of what I'm going to be going over. I won't take up too much of your time, but I do welcome any questions that folks might have when they bring to your mind. So next slide. So I just want to set the ground for everybody having kind of the same language, and Derek can hit me if I use any acronyms without explaining what they are. But in that vein of making sure everybody has a basic understanding, most emergencies are handled at a local level, right? The siren goes off, the firefighter handles the fire, the police officer handles what's going on, right? It doesn't require any larger coordination than they need. They can request the resources that they need, and they resolve the incident. And this is 99% of all incidents that occur. Next slide. But sometimes things happen that get a little bit more complex. So localized flooding, major windstorm. And this is a situation where, some jurisdictions operate either a coordination center or an emergency operations center, basically a location where, the subject matter experts, the people who are best equipped to handle that problem, public works, fire, police, finance, get together and they decide how are we going to help support the incident commander, that person who's on scene trying to fix the problem with what they need. Oftentimes that looks like resource requests. Sometimes that looks like, hey, we don't have a clear picture of what's going on, can you give us more information? Sometimes that's, hey, we really need to do this thing, but we can't unless an emergency is declared, right? And so that's something where, a policy group is established, but it's all kind of at a local level, again, handled appropriately by the people who know best. Next slide. And then you get something a little bit more complex, thinking Bull Creek fire, thinking large-scale county-wide flooding, where all of a sudden the resources that you need in order to handle what's going on become more complex. And that's when the county EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, activates. And we have a fairly similar structure. It doesn't operate the exact same way. Everybody has their own kind of distinct flavor of how they're going to handle emergencies. But the basics of it are, we're here to support you at a local level, as well as the incident commander with that information, with those resource requests. The other benefit is that, we kind of coordinate what's going on. So public information through a joint information center gets coordinated. Information gets passed up and down, and then I don't have it here, but there are far, far more complex instances where the state has to step in or FEMA comes in, right? And then you have a whole lot of people, and we help pass that information up, and we help pass that information down, depending on where it needs to go. Next slide. So that brings us to the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan. And just kind of giving you an idea of how long we've been working on this. We started work last year. What's not shown on the slide is the work that we as emergency management did. One of the things that we wanted to do in this cycle of comprehensive emergency management planning was go to each of the ILA jurisdictions, the interlocal jurisdictions that sign on for services with emergency management, and make people a template. So at a base level, folks had something that they could use in case of an emergency. The language is standardized. We all know what we're talking about. And a large part of these planning efforts are not just the piece of paper that gets stuck in a cabinet at the end of it, but also we know who we are, right? I know who Jeff Jolly is. I can call, I can talk with him. We met with Deborah Knight during that kind of initial workshop meeting, right? It's that familiarity and that trust that gets built. So we built these templates in the workshops. We had, almost a year ago, our workshop with City of Monroe. We had a lot of folks there in that room talking about, on a scenario-based discussion, well, what would you do if this? And then what? And who would you contact and who would you call? Kind of forming the basis of what the plan would look like. And then since then, we've been working with both Monroe and a lot of other jurisdictions in between, trying to get kind of these plans underway. And so today, we're just kind of talking through what does this mean. The plan isn't complete yet. It's still in draft form. We were with Chief Jolly and trying to get everything underway. I am a bit of a perfectionist and have a few niggling questions about what things look like and some additional comments for him to get underway. But ultimately what we'd like to do is we'd like to submit everything to the state by July or August of this year. This is well ahead of the deadline. We're looking at the end of this year to get things submitted, but knowing how long that process takes and with our other planning efforts underway, we wanted to make sure things got going as quickly as possible. Next slide. So, and at a basis, just what a comprehensive emergency management plan is it's the blue sky planning for gray sky days. There's a joke in the emergency management world that the worst time to be handing out business cards is when the disaster's going on, and that's what we want to do with these plans.
Let's not do that.
Yeah. So, they're deliberate plans. They're broad in scope, right? They don't say what that public works crew is going to be doing at any given time. Rather, they say, hey, public works, this is your general role and responsibility for us in the event of a disaster. It is legally required every 5 years by the state, and the Monroe Code also stipulates that you have to have a CEMP, which not everybody does, so I was quite impressed to see that. Next slide. Just to give you an overview of what the work that we've been doing goes into this. So we have the Comprehensive Emergency Management Base Plan. That is our plan. One thing I should mention is that because you are an ILA jurisdiction, you are already covered under our base plan. And so while you meet the technical letter of the law to be legally covered, we wanted to put together these partnerships. We wanted to put together these individual annexes to go beyond that, to make sure that you had a plan and the other jurisdictions had a plan in place. The plan, while we made a template, it's modular, right? It suits the need. We're not dictating, oh, you have to have an EOC. You have to structure it this way. Here are the personnel you have to have. It's based on the individual and unique needs that each jurisdiction has. In addition to that, we're working on emergency support functions. These are our subject matter experts who come to our emergency operations center. They have very specific roles: transportation, firefighting, search and rescue. And so they are working on their individual annexes that similarly guide, hey, here's what we're here to do, here are our authorities. And then we have a couple functional annexes that will get included in the plan as well. Next slide. And that brings us to your annex. I have read, I don't know, probably 10 of these, and sometimes they tend to blur together. So for the specific details, I'm going to have to defer to Jeff Jolly in this. But at a high level, here's kind of what this annex contains. So next slide. So first is just the roles and responsibilities. Identifying who is directly responsible, who needs to be in that room. Broadly speaking, in preparedness, in a response stage, in a recovery stage, in an activation stage, what do they need to be doing? It also identifies who helps. So whether that partnership be with emergency management, with the American Red Cross, with other non-governmental organizations, what role do they play? And then a big part of it too is identifying, where they need to go, whether that is here at your coordination center, whether that's some other place where they can best do that job. Next slide. The other piece that this covers is how we collect information. FEMA, a couple years ago, rolled out a new system of community lifelines. Broadly speaking, these are the essential bare functions that make normal life possible for all of us. When these things are broken, everybody's unhappy, and these are the things that will be broken during disaster. We use these as just an information gathering tool, right? When we're talking safety and security, how many police stations are operational? How many officers do you have? And those questions allow us to see how bad is bad and how good is good, right? How are things operating and how are things functioning? It's kind of a really streamlined way of trying to collect that information. It's also a really nice because it's, has a very simple, green, all good, yellow, not doing so hot, and red, it's broken, which is really simple both for you and us to see, oh, hey, things are really bad in this one area because we're getting all this information reported back to us that everybody's read. Or actually, this isn't as bad as we thought because people are reporting that things are green. Next slide. And then finally, just kind of covers the operations. What day-to-day changes have to occur? When a disaster happens, all of a sudden, things change and things change pretty rapidly. So who has that authority to activate your coordination center? What process do they use to undergo that? What rules and laws are suspended? Big one being purchasing changes during disaster, or other authorities that are granted either at the state level or at the local level for code changes. And then what kind of departmental changes occur? Frequently, at least for us in our EOC, the person who's sitting in that chair has that authority even if the person working underneath them is their boss during normal day-to-day operations. What matters is who is that subject matter expert and what is their level of expertise, not what normal role do they have. Also kind of defines what governmental authorities, I got into some of that, but simple things, do we have an emergency proclamation? What does it cover? What changes does it institute when we do these specific things? Lines of succession, which once again was in your code, which made it really easy to find and put that information in. Communication, really important. Communication on 3 levels. We're looking at how do your leaders communicate with one another and to staff. How do you communicate with external partners, including emergency management? And then finally, how do you plan to communicate to residents during a disaster? response coordination, this really defines at a level, what can you as a city, town, or tribe handle versus what you're going to need support on. And then similarly, what we as the county can offer and provide support on, or what we're going to have to go up and ask for. Just making it really clear so that everyone understands. And then finally, key resources, just the facilities, staff, and stuff. So we have a good understanding of what you have to operate, but also what we can expect you to ask us for during a disaster. And that brings us to the end of the presentation.
Nicely done. The only thing that I would add or emphasize is that this plan does not delegate your authority to us. You still have the ultimate responsibility for disaster in your jurisdiction, but it outlines the ways that we reach out to support you, the ways that we want to hear from you. So we hear from you how you would want to communicate, and then we try to absorb that into our system so that we're reaching out to all of the communities within the county in the ways that they've specified so that we can collect that information and kind of build that countywide common operating picture. So it was a way to make it more efficient, our connection with you, and support you, but not get in the way of sort of the local autonomy in handling disaster within your boundaries. So, any questions that we can answer?
Councilmember Beaumont.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I'm just curious, when you're talking about the other jurisdictions, which jurisdictions does that include?
It is all of them, with the exception of Everett and Marysville, who have their own programs, and Bothell as well. And it includes Tulalip tribes and Stillaguamish tribe.
Okay, great. This is wonderful. We're very pleased. I was surprised reading through the agenda bill that this plan, or a plan, was established in 2002 and signed by Mayor Walzer a long time ago. Last year, 4 of us up here, including myself, attended Association of Washington Cities Emergency Management Conference in Wenatchee. And I think we all came back thinking, not that the city didn't have something in place that was viable, but what more can we do? How much more could we be prepared? And this is wonderful, especially with the flooding disaster emergency, that happened late last year. It's great to have a plan. I like that one plan is all jurisdictions, one plan, but tailored to us specifically. I really like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I just want to thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Walker. He was quicker.
I'll defer to Gamble first.
No, go ahead, Councilmember Walker. You were quicker.
All right. Dara, I saw you present at the Snohomish County Cities Dinner, I believe,
yes.
last year, and you were great. I think that was during the trash
It was.
incident around the
Yes,
state.
yes.
And coming off of Prosecutor Cummings' presentation earlier, if I remember correctly, you guys are also on the your shortfall budget-wise, and I think the social contract that people think they have with government is law and order, where he's law, disaster management, kind of order. I'm sorry for the resource shortages that you guys have, because I can only imagine what the flooding was like for your office when so many need your help. So thank you guys for doing what you do as well.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gamble.
Yeah, just appreciate the presentation. I know I think we'd be remiss to not call out the 2002 date. That it's hard not to have something in place when you had Brad Feilberg at the helm.
Yes.
So I mean, it really is a testament to the hard work, and he put us on a real firm foundation. One of the reasons why we have a EOC trailer and and all that type of stuff is Brad, and working in conjunction with the county. So we really do truly appreciate the partnership.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, council? Okay, well, thank you so much for your presentation.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Jolly, is that it? Do you have any?
Mayor, I believe that's it. I just want to
Okay.
express a big thank you to Dara and David for coming out and continuing to work with us and partner with us. They are excellent, just excellent to work with. We do have some in-house people that help keep the the initiative going. It's certainly not something that's done just by myself. We have Patricia Pendry, Mike McConnell from the fire district that assists greatly, Brad Feilberg, who still works with us in an emeritus role, Rachel Adams, and even Sherry Simonson attends the meetings, as well as others from departments within the city that are represented, and we continue and hope to become more and more robust. So thank you for your support, and thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes.
There's one
Yep.
thing I forgot.
Of course.
Chief Jolly mentioned the hazard mitigation plan, and that specifically wasn't a part of this presentation, but I intended to address it. That is a separate plan with a different focus. It's about identifying ways that risk to people and property can be reduced and put into place before disasters happen. And that plan is running on a different track with a kind of a different set of folks. I think Chief is sort of like the linchpin in there too. But I did want to let you know that that's got a different timeline. And while it is due this year, we're currently waiting for FEMA. They actually, I think just last week, got back to us with some comments so that on our plan so that we can move forward to support the interlocal agreement cities with the development of their annexes as well. And it's the same structure. It's like a county plan with the cities being a part of that as well. So I didn't want to leave you without any explanation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Walker, did you have a comment, question?
It can just be a general comment, and again,
Yeah.
sorry, I was always talking so much. Very granular, but I know you guys are short on your resources, and I know you're already doing a lot with your bandwidth. There are artificial intelligence models that are becoming so powerful so quickly that they're going to be a sabotage risk to municipal, county, state resources as it relates to critical stuff, water, energy, and that's coming, and it's really scary. And I don't know if there's hardening methods or some kind of strategy that could be put in some of these plans for what happens if we do have to go manual in some of these processes in the event of ransomware or something like that. If they, yeah, so I won't go at length, but if that could be added to the purview if it's not already, appreciate it. Thank you.
We try to back everything up with pen and paper.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for that. And Chief Jolly, thank you for your leadership around this. There is no need for an executive session this evening, so there being no further business and no objections, the meeting will be adjourned. I can speak tonight. Hearing no objections, the meeting is now adjourned. Adjourned.